You tripping, man. ScarJo takes the cake.
That's Elizabeth Olsen.
Easy. Nah, bro, that's Elizabeth Olsen.
Don't disrespect Rachel McAdams now.
Solid choice.
Angelina Jolie, though.
Nah, she don't count. She's only been in one movie, man. Gotta be in at least two.
Hey, fellas, what y'all talking about?
Who's the most attractive woman in the MCU? But she's gotta be in at least two movies.
Oh, that's easy. It's Gal Gadot.
Aw, man, get out of here.
Ayo, what's good? Welcome to The Gist with me, Jared. Just about 1 year ago, one of my favorite movies in the MCU made its way to the theater. That being Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. While I was thoroughly entertained by this movie, I'll acknowledge that the reaction towards it are quite divisive. There are some who didn't find it enjoyable, and others like myself who really liked the film. This is definitely one of those times where expectations affect outcomes. If you were expecting tons of cameos from traversing the multiverse, where heroes we are used to seeing portrayed by a certain actor or actress have been changed to a different popular actor or actress, Doctor Strange 2 probably left you wanting a bit. As far as my expectations and anticipation for the movie when it first came out, they laid dead set on Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. Benedict Cumberbatch is a great Doctor Strange, and I know this is his character's movie, but I was here for Scarlet Witch. I have enjoyed Elizabeth Olsen's portrayal of this character across all the other MCU installments, and have been waiting for the Scarlet Witch to showcase her power similar to what I've seen in the comics. Before I take a deep dive into all the other things I loved about Scarlet Witch in this movie, I'll mention some of the other aspects about the film that really worked for me. Even though I'm not a horror fan, I was very impressed and pleased with Sam Raimi's stylistic choices for the movie. The visuals, imagery, shot selection, and music all cater to terrifying and delightful sequences. Whether it was Wanda crawling out like The Grudge, the Marvel Zombies Frankenstein reference, the jump scares, or Charles Xavier's face being torn in half, these not safe for kiddos sequences put big smiles on my face for the vast majority of the film. Even after the fourth time watching this movie, I'll acknowledge that it's pretty front-loaded with the first act. There are a handful of sequences in the second and third acts that are great and help keep the momentum going. But the strength for me is in the beginning of the film. I did like that the movie balanced the tension with levity and jokes. There wasn't too many jokes, but just enough. To speak to the multiverse aspect, I was fine with how they handled it in the film. A good amount of universes were traveled through, and the narrative focused on just a handful. I was fine with the variants of Doctor Strange and Wanda. Again, I wasn't someone who was looking for tons of cameos from popular actors playing familiar heroes in this movie. The Illuminati really satisfied and surprised me in my first viewing and recurring viewings of this movie. I enjoyed seeing Captain Carter. Also, I'm an unashamed fan of the Inhumans, and I'm glad that Anson Mount got to relive his role of the live-action Blackgar Boltagon. It was nice having another version of Captain Marvel, and I was ecstatic when John Krasinski showed up as Reed Richards. Upon the recording of this video, I still hope that he and Emily Blunt will lead Marvel's first family. And then they played the X-Men 97 music for Charles' entrance. Ya boy was grinning. Fan servicey, yeah, I guess you could say that, but it still worked very well for me. Now, I do believe that cameos are hollow if they don't serve narrative purpose. And to me, the plot point that the Illuminati were able to defeat Thanos by themselves but to then later get absolutely destroyed by Wanda served the plot point of showcasing just how powerful the Scarlet Witch is. No one could stand in her way, as it should be. Doctor Strange 2 is a Marvel movie that I believe requires homework prior to viewing. The experience would probably not be as satisfying if one hadn't seen the relevant Marvel content of Wanda and Doctor Strange in the Infinity Saga. Also, if you're someone who didn't watch WandaVision, then Wanda's heel turn probably came out of nowhere, especially if you're not familiar with her character in the comics. As mentioned, I was not one of those people, but rather have been very invested in the MCU, and Wanda's tragedy character arc in particular. Wanda Maximoff was initially introduced as an antagonist. Having been affected or awakened by the Tesseract, she was manipulated to use her powers against the Avengers in service of Ultron. Her country of Sokovia is war-torn. The last of her family, her brother, dies, and for what we know at this point, stays dead. And then she turns babyface and starts to work with the Avengers, but doesn't have full control of her powers, and in Civil War, causes a lot of casualties. She was trying to do the right thing, but then got sidelined, vilified, and ostracized for it. She falls in love with Vision, only to have him die multiple times in front of her. She kills him, Thanos kills him, and then Vision sacrifices himself to stop Wanda from taking things further in WandaVision. So there's this continuous up and down with Wanda Maximoff. And honestly, it's been more of a down. So by the time we arrived to Doctor Strange 2, I was able to sympathize and empathize with where her character was at. She had the power to create and seize the life she wanted. She wanted happiness and a life with her children like she had in WandaVision. Why do all the other versions of her in the multiverse get to be happy, but she is the only one that has to live a life of despair? I think we would be a little disingenuous if we say that we wouldn't take hold of the life we wanted, especially if we have the unlimited power like she has. The dialogue was delivered exceptionally by Elizabeth Olsen.
This is me being reasonable.
Personally, I would have preferred a few more lines where she articulates her despair and desperation, but what we got was great too. Wanda is a multi-layered character that proves to be a very compelling villain in Doctor Strange 2. I'm hoping that in the next Avengers movie or two, she'll be a plot device to end the multiverse. So instead of saying no more mutants like she does in the comics, rather she'll say no more multiverse, ending and resetting the MCU. One of the nitpicky downsides about this movie is the logic behind the concepts that are introduced. The aspect of one's dreams showcasing other versions of you in the multiverse is a cool concept, though it doesn't hold as firm of ground for me after multiple viewings of this film. I can also see why some people didn't like that Wanda's motivation behind her actions was her desire to be a mother. It also was pretty odd that Vision only gets a sentence of a reference in the film when WandaVision introduces that there's another version of Vision that actually exists. A logically inconsistent and peculiar omission for a very important character to Wanda's story. Further, I know the music note fight didn't work for a lot of folks, but for me, I found it very creative and enjoyed it quite a bit. Finally, another nitpick I have is about the America Chavez character. I understand why she was introduced as a plot device in the film, but still didn't find her character all that compelling. And that's the gist to my love letter for the Scarlet Witch, my revisited review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. A movie I thoroughly enjoyed as it appeals to my sensibilities of compelling characters, moral conundrums, and gratuitous but absolutely necessary violence.
Wanda, Black Bolt could destroy you with one whisper from his mouth.
What mouth?
What did you think of Doctor Strange 2? Did you like the movie as much as I did? What do you think Doctor Strange 3 is going to be about? And who's the most attractive woman in the MCU? Hit me up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll catch you next time on The Gist.